You're listening to another episode of the Just Go Bike podcast powered by RAGBRAI. This is the award-winning podcast where we are all about the culture of cycling just for the fun of it. Your hosts are Murph from the Murphology podcast and AP from Parrot Talk. With tales from all over the nation, come for the bikes, stay for the fun, and leave with a smile. And now here is Murph.
Hey, that's me.
And AP.
Hey, that's me.
AP.
Murph.
How are you doing?
Well, I'm great, but I could be better because I am alone at the podcast studio today.
I know. We're recording in different spaces. I'm in I don't know if you'd call it the Murphology studio, but in my own podcast studio today. So you guys won't be getting a video from us today.
No, I know. The Parrot Talk studio is just not the same, but I think we can make it work. I mean, look. Yeah. We got this.
You betcha. Okay, So have you heard of the 2024 Best Places to Bike report?
No, I haven't. What's that?
It is cool. It's a pretty robust report that People for Bikes puts out each year. And they have a significant list of factors that go into a certain ranking. And if I go really high level, it's a way for local leaders to use as a resource on what they can do to become a better place to ride a bike.
Oh, well, I love that. Yeah. So let's hear it. What is the number one city?
Okay, this kind of blew me away, and I have not been there yet, but the number one city is Mackinac Island, Michigan. With a population of only 836 residents, they obviously made it a priority to include bikes in their infrastructure.
Oh, that's so sweet and kind of unexpected in a town that's a little bit further north in the U.S. Also, congratulations on pronouncing Mackinac correctly.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of extra letters in there.
But now, I mean, we got to go. We should, maybe we need to record a podcast episode in Mackinac Island, Michigan.
Yeah, our furthest north episode ever. I think so.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
All right. So, but let's make it more local. What Iowa communities made the list?
Okay, so Carroll, Iowa, congratulations. You are ranked number 1 for Iowa and 17th in the country.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Go Carroll.
I know. And we've gone through there on RAGBRAI. Of course, RAGBRAI is a whole different ballgame. It's extremely bike friendly in any community when you have RAGBRAI coming through. But I don't know if I've biked in Carroll outside of RAGBRAI. So that's got to be something that I put on my list as well.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think we did do a RAGBRAI roadshow there. But it was just sort of, we started there and then came back.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I would love to bike there. They have a great bike trail infrastructure there, home of the Stray Cats bike team.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I did look up my city, which is Cedar Rapids, and we are ranked 18th in the state and a measly 1,008 for the country.
Oh.
And I mean, I bike here almost every day, so I can agree as a larger city, we definitely have some work to do when it comes to bike friendly.
Yeah, it's funny though, because I do think of you all as having a strong bike culture. So yeah, I think you deserve to be higher up on the list. Let's get them, improved.
Yeah, for sure.
So did you happen to look up my city that I live in, which is Des Moines, by any chance?
You bet I did. I noticed there were many of the Des Moines suburbs that made the top 10, which was Ankeny, West Des Moines, Urbandale, and Des Moines is ranked 16th.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I would take that. Now, that does make sense because Ankeny is where the High Trestle Trail starts, and the West Des Moines, Urbandale area, it's how you get down to they have the Great Western Trail over there, and you can go down to the Coming Tap. So there is a strong trail game over there, but I still, longtime listeners of this podcast know that I think East Des Moines is an underrated gem in Des Moines.
Oh, okay.
So, maybe next year.
Yeah.
We can get up there.
So if you're listening to this podcast wondering if your community is on the list, you can basically go to peopleforbikes.org, click on any city you wish to explore, and you get to see all kinds of results that went into giving that city its ranking. It's basically just called City Rankings. Find out details about your city and go from there. Or, if you're going to go on some sort of adventure in the United States, you can click on it and find out the scoop for that community.
Oh, that's cool. Now, I know you're not a People for Bikes official rep, but
Right.
what if you can't find your city?
I did look this up because I was typing in cities that I just was curious about. If they don't show up, there is a short form you can complete that will get that community on the list for next year, which I think is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty freaking cool. And I think, city leaders out there, any listeners who are city leaders, you should take a look at the results, and we should all work towards making more bike friendly changes.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, let's get to today's episode.
Yeah, let's do it. What do you have today?
Oh my gosh, I interviewed a man named Gary Cederquist. I absolutely love this interview. He was a first-time RAGBRAI rider this year. He lives in California, but he went to high school, grew up in Iowa, actually in Burlington. So he
cool.
came on the podcast to kind of share his RAGBRAI memories, kind of how he got to the place where he was ready to do RAGBRAI.
Yeah, I love these stories. And I had seen Gary's email in our inbox, and I've just been waiting for you to finally get the chance to talk to him. So I can't wait to hear it.
Yes. Yeah. I was just going to say he emailed us, which I love. And I will also say, talking to him, oh my gosh, it reminded me of all the good things that happen on RAGBRAI, the people, the towns, so much more. It kind of gave me that boost to hopefully get me through till January when we find out the new route.
Yeah. I just love hearing from first-time riders. They have such a fresh perspective on something that I've done a million times. It's a great way to remind yourself, about all the amazing things that RAGBRAI has to offer. And, first-time rider, long-time rider, if you have a cool story, we would love to hear from you. justgobikepodcast@gmail.com.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to hear from Gary. Let's roll it.
All right. A very warm welcome to RAGBRAI, dare I say veteran, because he's ridden at least one, Gary. Hey, Gary.
How's it going, Murph?
Good. Glad to have you on the podcast and kind of just share your story, and hopefully it will spark some memories in other listeners out there.
Yeah, welcome to come along.
Yeah. Well, let's start out by, I already know the answer to this, but the listeners don't. So tell the listeners where you live now and maybe a little bit about the cycling culture.
Okay, so I currently live in San Diego, California. And the cycling culture in San Diego, I only know a smidgen of it because for my little world, but I started cycling a little bit more in my 30s and 40s when the knees were giving away from running. So I go with little pods of people or sometimes on my own, but there are some bike paths and definitely we have weather all year round that we can ride in. So no excuses. I do see other cycling groups going out with their bicycling store and clubs, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of just either me, I'm grabbing a quick mile, an hour and a half ride, or I might grab a couple other dads and we'll go out for a little longer one, maybe on the weekend.
Mm-hmm. So most listeners know that I rode my bike across the United States back in 2022, and we launched from San Diego. And it was so funny because we were at an RV park somewhere in San Diego, and we're like, all right, well, we got to go to the ocean to actually start this. And it took us all day to get there because, San Diego is much bigger than where we live here in Iowa. But I will also say we were crossing a busy highway. We were waiting for the light to change, and a guy pulls up behind us on his bicycle, and he's wearing an Iowa State jersey. And so we were like, all right, this is a good omen that we are among other Iowans as we start this huge trek.
Right. They're all over the place. Even on one of my training rides, I saw a person with a RAGBRAI jersey on. They said, you got to go. And I go, okay, I will go. I promise you.
Okay, so you're in San Diego, but I know you have an Iowa connection. So can you kind of share with us your Iowa connection?
Yeah, sure. So I actually went to high school in Burlington, Iowa. So that's Burlington Community High School. And then I went on to get my BS degree, Bachelor's of Science degree in electrical engineering from Iowa State at Ames.
Oh, okay.
So I did that, John. And then I ended up taking a job on the West Coast, and I've basically been there ever since. So it was definitely a little culture shock to come out here, but it was a good. I really enjoyed my time. I mean, I did detasseling as a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old, but I don't think I did much biking there. To be honest with you, I was busy doing sports and school and whatever. But I do like the rolling hillsides,
Yeah.
and I was reintroduced to the smells of the farm as I went across the state, which they were out of my memory for a while.
Yeah. Hard to forget, though, once you start smelling a hog farm, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So if you went to high school in Burlington, Iowa, hopefully listeners out there can remember us coming into Burlington this year. So, like, was it part of your high school or junior high gym class to run up Snake Alley?
You know what? My kind of experience with Snake Alley was, yeah, I've been there. You know, I haven't actually walked up there,
Oh,
but my mother would do they would do some art sale for something, and so I remember that part of the town, and I remember it being steep in cobblestone, but I didn't really. I mean, I've seen it. I've
yeah.
been downtown, and then on the way out of town, when I had to ride back to my vendor that's carrying all my bags, I went by like I used to work at the High V, the grocery store there, and went by certain neighborhoods, and in my mind I saw, oh, I remember this 45 years ago or whatever, and my brain was going. It was like flashbacks, but
Yeah.
I remember the hills, and there was, of course, we have a railroad track going through town right down there by downtown, and definitely perpendicular. We had, make sure you don't get your little tires, caught in
Right.
the track. But yeah, no, it was good. So yeah, I enjoyed it, but yeah, it was a real flashback going back, and I did get a picture by that nice bridge.
Yeah.
It's an impressive bridge.
I agree. Yes. So, like, when you were growing up, did you hear about RAGBRAI as a young Iowan?
Yeah, yeah. There's bike clubs, and I would hear about it. You know what? I just wasn't into biking at that time.
Right.
I did end up biking to work at the Hy-Vee, and I didn't wear a helmet at that time, so they didn't have that nice little helmet gizmo where it holds your head really good. But I did a little bit of biking, but never like, hey, I'm going out on a 25-mile ride in the fields or whatever. I didn't do that a lot at that time, but later in life, I really enjoyed, and you can do exercise without really hurting yourself, unlike other sports.
Right.
I really like that because I sit at a desk all day long. I have clerk. I had a job, but it's not good to be stationary. So I'm trying to incorporate, hey, let's do some walking. Let's do some biking. Let's mix it up a little bit just so the bones keep on moving.
Right. Right. And then you mentioned, okay, so now you live in California, you're an adult. People were talking about RAGBRAI in California. Is that right?
Yeah, and I have like I had a couple of dad friends, that are nearing retirement, but one of them went with their wife and the previous year on the 50, the year that the weather was muy hot,
Oh,
very caliente,
yes.
very
So,
caliente.
yes.
I heard people were going into freezers at the Casey's, or whatever store. But yeah, so I heard some firsthand, and there was a couple other people that says, hey, you might like it. You like camping, and I do like riding. I'm not a Peloton. Hey, I'm just going to crank. I go a little bit slower,
Hmm.
but I enjoy it. And so I heard it through word of mouth, and they said, hey, you should go. And then when I ended up retiring this past spring in April, and that was the trigger, because then I can use a little bit more time and take my time getting out there. And I wanted to do it because that's my state. I owe a lot to Iowa State and the upbringing and stuff. I just hadn't been back there. So it was really cool to go back. I hadn't seen that part of the state either because I'm from Southeast Iowa
Yeah.
and that's by the Mississippi. And the west part of the state, I don't even know how to pronounce whatever that L word is with those little hills. And I'm like, oh, yeah. But it was really cool to see those little towns. And you don't see it when you're bombing on the 80 or whatever on the freeway. You
Right.
just stop off, get gas, and go on. But it's kind of cool to see these little spots of towns and the people kind of, opening up their doors to you just because, that's what they're doing this year. And it's really fun to see that.
Yeah, yeah. So like the stars align because, oh, and by the way, they're called the Luss Hills. Even though it doesn't look like that, it's called the Luss Hills, and they get your heart rate going, right?
Right, right. Okay, Russ. I'll try to pronounce that correct. I think I was the lowest hills or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Okay, so the stars aligned is what I was starting to say because you retired, which congratulations on that. And then RAGBRAI was ending in your hometown. So at what point were you like, I got to do this?
Yeah, I was trying to arrange it with some other dads, because there's always like, it's nice to be in a little group, but it just wasn't happening. I said, I'm doing it. And so my wife, we're talking about how do I get out there? Do I pack my bike? Da, da, da. And so I talked to one of the vendors, and he's from Mount Pleasant. That's that out of state cycle group. And anyways, I said, okay, I want to do it. And I said, it's good. It's probably going to be it as soon as it was in Burlington announced, whenever they announced that, I forget the timetable. I said, I'm doing it. So
Yep.
that's kind of okay. And then there goes the train, then start the training. But we have plenty of hills out here in San Diego. It's just having the time to, I think, get saddle time, as they say. But the hills are equivalent. So that went really well. And I just had to pick times when the crowded roads out here aren't as crowded and just go and get some time in the saddle, make sure my bike is happy and I know the gears. And but yeah, that went really well. And I enjoyed just training more in San Diego because it helped me to get a little more familiar with the bike and, just be a little bit more comfortable riding that long for that amount of time.
Right. So are you saying that RAGBRAI 51 was your very first RAGBRAI?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Oh my
So
gosh, that's awesome.
And another first is I was going to write something on my calf. This is my first podcast, so I was going to. I won't do that. This is not TV.
Well, if we see you this next year at the podcast booth, we'll definitely write something on your calf. I don't know what, but.
Yes, I don't know what's appropriate, but yes, yeah.
We will be right back.
Stay cozy this fall with our LII Waffle Knit. In development for over a year by our merchandise team, this shirt is waffly good in design, comfort, and performance.
Made from soft and lightweight waffle knit fabric, this shirt can be used as a thermal base layer or your go-to casual shirt of the season.
This is the official Just Go Bike merchandise pick of the season.
Now, back to the show.
Well, let's hear about your RAGBRAI experience. I mean, you mentioned, why you decided to do it, and you told us a tiny bit about training, but give us the scoop.
Oh, okay. So there was I went to the website, the RAGBRAI website, just to look at what they want for training. And I just said, okay, let's see what I can do. And I talked to some of the other dads that went on it. And so they gave me some hints. I was just trying to figure out what works for my time frames,
right,
and some of that. And then also the hill work, because I cannot go out my door without hills. Mm-hmm. So it just all depends on how much time I have and then what roads are safer. And I did change some of my training rides because I never want to be on that road. Now we have, bike lanes painted in the right on some ways, and I try to go those ways if I can, but there's certain safe ways to ride around our town. So I started, in January, and then trying to work my way up. You know what? I don't think I ever did 85 miles was the max this year on one of the days. I think I did a 60, close to near the end, but I did have a loop. If you ever want to do a loop from my house to the shore, to the ocean and back, goes to Torrey Pines. That was a great, because it had, bathroom breaks and it was dedicated bike path. And that was a good loop of 30 to 40 miles, depending on how much more hills I want to take in or how I feel. But those are the type of training rides. I probably do 220s, during the week, and then maybe like a 40
Mm-hmm.
or a 45. So the I don't have excuse to. It wasn't like snowing in January, so I I had plenty of good time to good weather to get out there, and just getting saddle time I think is for me was really good because I'm not used to sitting in the saddle for 2 or 3 hours, and I don't go that fast. I do like going up hills, but I'm not in the pace line. People are passing me the whole trip. I'm like, oh wow, people really get, the level of cycling was really good. Just don't go in that left lane, like the Autobahn.
Stay
But
right.
these
Stay right.
these really young people with really fast paces, and they don't have any. They're just like, wow, they're fast. And I go, I'm never going over there. Stay to the right. Every once in a while, I pass somebody. Stay away from those rumble strips or whatever,
Yeah.
and just hang out. And I was like, it was really fun just to be a slow turtle in the right, on the flats, and just enjoying. I didn't want it to get over too fast because I'm like, this is all. And if I wanted to stop a little kid was selling Gatorade, those are the type of things where, I think you got to stop and not go so
Yeah, you
fast.
got to experience all that Iowa offers during RAGBRAI. And the interesting thing about, you were talking about um, people going much faster. There's always going to be people faster than you, and there's always going to be people slower than you. And I think that's one of the really, really cool things about RAGBRAI is that everyone does it at their own pace. I mean, there's not a winner each day. There's not a loser. It's just go explore Iowa, enjoy yourself, rinse and repeat.
Right. Yeah. And it is, you do kind of get into a rhythm. I was, we don't allow humidity out here in California. So the first couple of days were just a little bit of adjustment, nothing crazy because the weather was perfect. I mean, as best you can be but it did take a little while. And then you go like, I can do this. This is good. Make sure I eat. There was nice spacing of towns. So you really only need one water bottle and just fill up at every town had the bottle filling stations. And yeah, it was really well supported. You don't even need like download the maps because you just follow the signs in the herd.
Right.
And yeah, it was. And then when you want to just take a break in the shade and eat some pie or, yeah, it was, you had to kind of, I guess, play. Everybody has a little different way of going. Like some of my friends, which I was trying to sync up with, they leave at 5:15 or 5:30 in the morning. I go, I'm not that early, so I'm going to go by my own pace, and the cell phone coverage, you can't text, or sometimes you get a little spotty. So it was totally fine. But if I do it again, I'm probably going to have maybe some dads with me in the same group so we can at least sync up in the beginning of the day, or we'll camp at the same place at night, because it is kind of fun to go over stories with people, and whether, that would be a little bit cool if I do it another time.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm with you, man. Getting up at, you start hearing the zippers unzipping at 4:30 in the morning so people can get on the road. And I think for a lot of people, they want to beat the heat. But when you're camping, you never really get away from the heat. So like I'm more of I'd rather get a couple more hours of sleep and, be coherent all day instead of ready to take a nap.
Right. Yeah. I need my beauty sleep or whatever. Yeah. I don't function well. But yeah, so I was a late, maybe I'd get going by like 6:45 or 7, but that was perfect time. And then
Yeah.
I'd eat and bike my way across to the lunch town. And yeah, I just took it kind of slow, and it was I really enjoyed that. I wasn't worrying about my heart rate. I would see people with their phones on, knowing the exact time and rate and pace. And I'm like, you know what? I like people would carry music. Sometimes if they have the right song, I'll work with you up this hill because that song is really motivating you.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of interesting things to see, along the way. So
Right.
really good. But I went at my own pace.
And were you camping or with a charter, or maybe you had an RV?
Yeah, no, I was with I just hired a company that us to carry my 2 duffel bags, and I'm a camper. My kids went Boy Scouting, and so I love that. So no worries there. Setting up a tent, and we had in our service we had showers. So I was there was a nice little kind of rhythm where you'd get done with the ride, rehydrate, set up your tent, dry things out, and then go get a shower, and then figure out what you're going to eat tonight. And I did a lot of the church meals in the main town, and that was good, or just a diner, and that was kind of fun because then you just meet people
Yeah.
that have all been through the same experience. You sit down with whoever. I mean, if you're an introvert, you're just like, how's your day? Everybody's from different places, and yeah, it just gives you a common experience to talk. And you don't do that a lot of times in a big city. You're always in a rush trying to find a parking spot but you're all part of this, group of, I don't know if we were 18,000 this year or 17,000, but you're all this traveling herd going across the state, and yeah, you're just trying to get through it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of,
It's like a
go ahead.
traveling festival because everywhere you turn, there's like entertainment, there's food, there's everything, and then the next day, same thing. It's like 75 or 80 tiny festivals all along the week.
Right. It's kind of, and then sometimes you see the same vendors. Oh, I'm going to try that one again. Oh, I'm going to try this one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So were you, you said that there were some of the dads, I don't know if they were with you this year, but did you go solo, but then ended up meeting people?
Um, well, there's another little wrinkle. My roommate in college in Iowa State, he actually stayed in Iowa, and he's from Burlington. So he rode it. He was sick the first day, but I did end up meeting with him in Ottumwa when we finally synced up. But he was with a different group, and it was so hard to coordinate. And he left at like 8:30 every morning, so that's too late for me. But so I met up with him, and then at the end of the ride, his mom still lives in Burlington, so we had lunch with her, and that was kind of really good. So my roommate, that was my college roommate, that I think we just exchanged Christmas cards every year, but that was the first time I seen him in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was two other dads from San Diego, one from my church, but his group he was in a group of 6 people, and they all ride at different paces, and I never psych up with them during the whole trip, but I met him afterwards. And then there was one other dad that he was leaving at 5 in the morning. I'm going, you guys are crazy. I guess not crazy. You're really dedicated or getting up early. So yeah, I was alone, but not really. But yeah, I never met up with those people consistently.
Sure. And yeah, you're definitely not alone because you're surrounded by people. So if you have the energy and you want to chit chat with someone, there's always somebody there. At least that's my experience.
Right. And everybody's, super helpful in terms of if something's going on with their bike or where to get help or, yeah. So that's kind of nice. And I thought the riding, like as I'm in my little, lane to the right, people were very respectful and announcing rider on and car back or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I didn't see many people go, really out of the ordinary or get in ways of people. I even saw a quad. Was it a quad? Like there's a tandem, a tridem, and the quad. I think it was like the dad and 3 kids on a
on the
bike.
same bike?
Yeah. And then there's that dude that rode backwards on the mountain bike. It was insane.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That guy, I'm like, does this guy ride before? And somebody said, yeah, he's ridden before. And I'm like, you never know. Like then that Penny Farthing guy with the big wheel.
Yeah. I have,
There's all yeah, go ahead.
We've done podcasts with the backwards biker. His name's Will Walker, and he lives in Alaska. So I don't even know how he trains. But, and then the Penny Farthing guy is Danny, and he was riding across America. So he just did a little pit stop to ride RAGBRAI and then kept going.
Wow.
It's crazy.
And,
Yeah.
yeah. People are really motivated. Yeah, no, it was really cool to see the variety of bikes and people.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything like you would say, I don't know if anything go wrong is the right thing to say, but any mechanicals, or were you riding your own bike or did you rent a bike?
Yeah, you know what? I rented or I rode my own bike. So I have I realized how old it is, but it still works well. Road bike. So and it's old, so it has regular brakes, not the hydraulic ones,
Mm-hmm.
and a triple crank, but work really good. So no mechanical problems for me. And I just want to I tip my hat to all those Air Force people that were doing the
Oh,
quick
yes.
change those people are amazing. I thank you for your service. And because they would like, before the person was like stopped rolling off to the side of the road, they're doing these hand signals going over there, and they're swapping out the tube and whatever. And like, wow.
Yeah.
And I guess there was a whole squad of them that were strung out during the whole ride. Really, really impressive. So no, I didn't have any issues with flats. Did I have any crashes? No. I did have somebody almost like veer into me on the uphill section, and I'm just like, hey, be careful, and we kind of bumped and I rolled off. But no, I didn't have any issues. Made it across the carpeted railroad crossing during that one area where I guess they had some people fall over. But yeah, no, really good ride, really good signage. No problems there.
Yeah. And how about any good stories about, maybe interactions you had with people, or I don't know, anything?
Okay, we're coming down to I have a story. You can just edit this out if it was it's not appropriate, but it was like the last night, and it involves porta potties.
Okay.
But anyways, and there's a big line, and everybody's like trying to get through, and of course, I go into a place and there's no toilet paper.
Oh.
Of course, I'm a Boy Scout. I have my own. Just for the record, it was Charmin, very good 2-ply. And I get done, and then the next person comes in. I hold the door out, and I go, by the way, there's no toilet paper. And the face of the person, like, oh. I go, you may have mine.
Aww.
And so that was my way. And there's other things but it was out. And he's like, whoa, because, I don't have to get back in line, but no, it was things like that happen, or you need a little wrench for your bike, or how do you pump up your tire? Things like that happen all the time. And I think you just kind of get into that mode of, yeah, it is good to take time and talk to people and just help them out when you can. Like setting up a tent, I think some guy was like struggling with poles. I go, no problem. You just need to tell me where you go, and just help them set up the tent, because then you got your little home base and just kind of do things like that. And it is good not to go so fast in life, and just trying to, we're all in this together, and the sun will come up tomorrow, and we'll try to pedal to the next town.
Yeah.
So,
and the little things, like not having toilet paper in a porta potty. I mean, that causes some pretty deep stress, anxiety in that small moment. So you saved somebody. He's probably telling that story right now as well.
oh yeah, I'm sure he has. I don't know. It's a little I can do, right? We do the little things.
Yeah, yeah. So overall, I mean, I'm getting a feeling that you were very happy that you chose to do RAGBRAI this year.
Oh yeah, it exceeded my expectations, as they say. Yes, we're really well run, and I just enjoyed the slower pace. And then I thought that it'd be weird just being by myself, but you've got 17,000 friends going along, and
Right.
a lot of you sit under the tree and eat pie and hang out and listen to like Damon Dotson band, and I'm like, oh wow, this band's good. I can just chill in the shade and have an ice cream by the Amish people.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a lot of little things that you're like, oh, it's not going fast, but it's just taking it in and enjoying what's out there, and kind of meeting people and getting sprayed by hoses by little kids. That was kind of fun too. I go, when do you do that? I'm an old man, and people I go, give me best shot. And they just squirt me, like I'm going, whoa.
So you're describing so many like good memories and fun things, and it's the perfect example of, you go through 7 or 8 days, if you count the expo day, of just all these little quirky things. And then you go back home, which for you didn't have to go back to an office, but you had to go back home. And a lot of people identify that as LARS, which means life after RAGBRAI stinks, because you don't have a little kid squirting you with a hose when you go home, or you don't have Amish pie. And it's like, a tiny bit of depression is a little bit strong of a word, but it kind of like, oh man, I want to do that every day.
Right. I understand it now a little better, but yeah, it is kind of, and it also just takes time. You're out of your element for a while. You're setting up with a bunch of new people. So
Yeah.
that might be overwhelming, and I think people depending on your travel or how the bike got to the bike shop and did they put it together right. But once you get rolling, and I think it was really cool. I'm so happy I did it. I did make a little picture book for my mom who didn't go. My mom's still alive. So she goes, oh yeah. And then I took a picture of my house in Burlington that I lived in.
Oh,
40, and that was so cool. And I go, that house is looking sweet. The owners are keeping it up. I'm like, I was in that bedroom. I'd study for my physics test. Like it was like the full circle. So it was the Disney thing. But yeah, it was really kind of cool. So really enjoyed it. And I might go back again if I can wrangle a couple dads, and we'll be in our own little pod, because there's a couple dads that really like cycling in San Diego that would like to probably experience it and kind of do that whole, routine again.
well, hopefully you you wrangle them together and make sure you come to our podcast booth so we can say hi and get a photo.
Oh yeah, we'll do that. That's at the beginning of it. Yeah, we went through that, and I think I went by the podcast booth, but no one was there.
Yes, I know. We get pulled in every direction, but we do podcast every night. So each night, where they have the, I guess it's like a mini expo, where there are some booths there. So we're there. At least our booth is. We might not always be there, but I also ride during the day. So it's a full day, but so worth it.
Yeah, it is really worth it. So yeah, doing a good job. Keep it up. And it's always good to have more bikes on the road and people, kind of biking safe and getting out and getting some fresh air.
Well said. Well, Gary, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story. And we are very happy that you chose to come back to Iowa and spend at least a week with us.
Oh, yeah. No, it was super fun.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Murph.
Well, listeners, that is it for today. We want to thank you for tuning in to listen to the Just Go Bike podcast. If you would like to contact Murph and AP with a comment about the podcast, or maybe even you have a topic in mind, you can reach us at justgobikepodcast@gmail.com. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook and watch our intros on YouTube. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, especially if you're a fan. That is going to do it for this week. Until next time,
Just go bike.
theme song by Ryan Steer, logo by Suzanne Milosevic, produced by Kathy Murphy, social media by Andrea Parrott, intro by Pumpkin. Until next time, just go bike.